The courthouse smells like old paper and lemon polish, the kind of clean that tries to convince you justice is tidy. Maya Carter takes a slow breath and loosens her jaw the way her therapist taught her, tongue off the roof of the mouth, shoulders down, eyes steady. She's done everything right. She paid the parking meter, arrived 10 minutes early, dressed in the navy sheath her mother says makes her look unflappable. Still, the fluorescent lights feel like interrogation, not illumination, and every whisper ricochets off the marble. Officer Brad Kincaid lounges 3 rows back, one arm draped across the pew as if he owns the room. He's still in uniform, the crisp blues arranged just so, the brass of his nameplate catching the light. He sees Maya glance over and gives her a smile that is all teeth and no warmth. Eyebrows up, a little shrug, as if to say, "What did you expect?" He's got a file in his lap, thick with papers that shouldn't exist. She knows what's inside. Incident reports, statements from 2 of his buddies, a body cam video with a mysterious malfunction at the exact moment she says he shoved her against her car and slapped the cuffs on. "Carter, Maya." The clerk's voice bounces. Case number 23-1147, disorderly conduct, obstruction, and assaulting an officer. Maya stands, palms dry, heartbeat slow. She's trained a decade for high-stakes moments, first in debate rounds where judges hid their tells, then in an emergency room research team where seconds mattered. But this is different. This is about her name, not a project, and that name is being read like a warning label. Her attorney, a compact woman named Ariel Holmes with a stare like a rivet gun, rises beside her. "Ready for the court, Your Honor." The judge assigned to the morning calendar, Judge Whitfield, mid-50s, tidy beard, a reputation for keeping the trains on time, leans forward. "Let's proceed to probable cause. Officer Kincaid, you're the complaining witness. Tell me why Ms. Carter is here instead of at her job like any other citizen on a Wednesday morning." Kincaid stands with a little performance, a sigh in the set of his shoulders that suggests regret, burden, duty. He approaches the lectern with the file he's so proud of and flips it open like a salesman. On Saturday at approximately 9:40 p.m., the defendant initiated a disturbance outside the Oak and Pine Bistro. She refused my lawful commands, shoved me in the chest, and interfered with my partner's attempt to de-escalate the situation. When I attempted to detain her for questioning, she struck me with her elbow. He taps a glossy photo of a faint red mark near his collarbone. "Injuries documented." Ariel doesn't blink. "And your body cam, officer?" "A malfunction," he says smoothly. "We filed the report." Maya keeps her breath slow. She hears the chuckle from someone in the gallery, a sure it did kind of laugh, and the rustle of note-taking among the reporters who were tipped off the docket would be interesting today. She doesn't look back. She keeps her eyes front on the seal mounted high above Whitfield's head. Where law ends, tyranny begins. She wants to believe marble can mean something more than weight. Ariel steps to the lectern. "Your Honor, my client didn't shove anyone. She was standing on a public sidewalk filming an unrelated stop when Officer Kincaid approached her from behind and grabbed her phone. The disturbance started when he realized she was recording and his camera wasn't." Kincaid laughs softly. "Convenient." "Convenience cuts both ways," Ariel replies. "We have 2 civilian videos from across the street and a time-stamped parking receipt. They directly contradict the narrative you've just heard." Judge Whitfield raises a hand. "I'll see the videos, counsel." Ariel cues her tablet. The courtroom lights dim just enough to turn faces into silhouettes. On screen, Maya appears in profile, braids tucked behind one ear, phone raised, voice level. "Sir, I'm on a public sidewalk. I have the right to record. The audio is imperfect, the angle slightly obstructed by a lamppost, but the important beats land. Kincaid stepping into the frame, Kincaid reaching, Maya stepping back, the camera jolting, the sound of metal on metal as her wrist hits the car door. No swing, no shove, no strike. Kincaid's jaw tightens in real time and in footage. "That video begins mid-incident," he says quickly. "It doesn't show her obstructing before." "Because there was no before," Ariel says. "Your Honor, the second video is from the bistro awning. Wider angle." They watch again. This time the scene is crisp. Patio tables, a group laughing under string lights, a woman pointing when the officer closes on Maya. The crowd's reaction isn't confusion, it's concern. Whitfield leans closer, elbows on the bench. In the gallery, someone whispers, "That's not obstruction," and someone else shushes them sharply. "Officer Kincaid," Whitfield says, voice neutral but thinner around the edges. Why does your report indicate defendant-initiated physical contact when this video shows the opposite? Kincaid keeps his smile, but it's a different species now. Tighter, brittle. Angles can deceive, Your Honor. The defendant moved aggressively into my space. Maya feels Ariel's hand slide close to hers along the defense table. Nothing dramatic, just a press of knuckles like ballast. Hold steady, the touch says without words. Maya thinks of her mother rolling out biscuit dough at the tiny kitchen table when she was 10. When someone lies about you, baby, don't chase the lie, stand still, let the truth catch up. Whitfield exhales, taps his pen. We'll take a brief recess before voir dire on probable cause. He glances toward the side door that leads to chambers, a flicker of indecision crossing his features. Counsel, approach. A bench conference swallows voices into the white noise machine. Kincaid returns to the pews, drops into the wood with a softness that looks like victory but smells like sweat. A reporter in a navy blazer takes notes without looking down. A bailiff checks the clock twice. And in the back row, a woman in a charcoal suit slips in latte, head down, moving with the quiet certainty of someone who knows exactly where she belongs. Maya doesn't see her. Maya keeps her eyes on the seal, then the door, then her own fingertips flat against the grain of the table. She will not tremble. She will not blink first. She will not give them the satisfaction of calling her angry or unstable or combative. She arrived with the truth and she is still here with it. All rise, the clerk calls as Whitfield breaks from the huddle. The judge opens his mouth to speak, then stops when he notices the woman in charcoal standing discreetly by the rail. Something like recognition. No, surprise flares and is buried. He clears his throat. Counsel will resume in 5 minutes. His voice softens almost imperceptibly. Ms. Carter, remain. Ariel studies the judge's face, then the newcomer's posture. There's a pattern in the room, a current only a few can feel, and suddenly Ariel's hand on Maya's is not just reassurance, it's announcement. Something's shifting. Kincaid doesn't feel it. He leans back, grinning at his buddies 2 rows behind, already drafting the story he'll tell about winning on a technicality. He doesn't look at the woman by the rail. He doesn't notice the way the bailiff straightens when she lifts her head. He certainly doesn't notice that her eyes, clear, steady, utterly unimpressed, match the judge's. The court clock clicks. 5 minutes to resume. 5 minutes before testimony. 5 minutes before the marble proves whether it's just weight or something more. Maya breathes, long and even. Somewhere behind her, the latecomer's phone vibrates once and goes silent, the courtesy of someone raised with courtroom rules at a dinner table. When the clerk calls time and the judge returns, the woman in charcoal steps forward, just enough to be seen but not to intrude. And for the first time since Saturday night, Maya feels a shift she cannot name, a door in the air opening quietly on oiled hinges. She doesn't know it yet. Kincaid certainly doesn't. But the lie he's built is about to meet a truth older than paperwork. The kind a father teaches a daughter about the law, and the kind a daughter refuses to watch be broken. The courtroom hums low as the 5-minute recess ends. Reporters whisper into recorders, their voices hushed but eager. Bailiffs reposition themselves like chess pieces. Maya sits rigid, her pulse even, her breathing steady. She doesn't know why Judge Whitfield told her to stay behind. Judges don't talk to defendants outside counsel. Something feels unusual, though she can't name it. Ariel leans closer, murmuring, "Stay still. Something's turning." When the clerk calls order, everyone rises again. Judge Whitfield adjusts his robe, clears his throat, and settles into the bench, but his eyes flicker, just briefly, toward the woman in charcoal who now sits quietly in the front row, her tablet resting on crossed knees. No one else recognizes her, but Whitfield does. His jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. "Court is back in session," he says, tone measured. "Officer Kincaid, your testimony is incomplete. We'll proceed with cross-examination before determining probable cause." Ariel stands smoothly, her binder thick with tabs. "Thank you, Your Honor." She approaches the lectern and lets the silence stretch before she speaks. The pause makes the gallery lean in. "Officer Kincaid, in your report you claim Ms. Carter initiated physical contact." "That's correct," Kincaid answers, his smile smug. "Yet we just viewed 2 independent videos contradicting that." Ariel gestures toward the monitor. "Tell me, officer, did you file your report before or after you learned those videos existed?" Kincaid's smile falters, just slightly. "Reports are filed immediately after incidents." "Of course," Ariel says lightly. "Then you wouldn't have known you were being recorded." Convenient that your body cam failed at that precise moment. Kincaid bristles. Malfunctions happen. 3 times this month? Ariel flips through a stapled stack. According to department records, your camera malfunctioned on March 5th, March 17th, and the night of April 2nd. Would you like to explain this pattern to the court? The gallery murmurs. A reporter's pen scratches furiously. Kincaid opens his mouth, but Ariel cuts him off. No need, the record speaks. She pivots. Your Honor, this officer has a history of conveniently absent evidence whenever accountability is required. Judge Whitfield leans back, expression unreadable. His gavel doesn't rise, though his eyes cut briefly toward Kincaid with something like disapproval. Maya feels Ariel's momentum building, a tide she can finally trust. But the woman in charcoal, silent until now, stirs. She sets her tablet aside, leans forward, and whispers something to the bailiff nearest her. The bailiff nods, crosses to the bench, and hands a folded note to Judge Whitfield. The judge reads it, and for a moment his usually impassive face betrays recognition. He glances at the woman again, then clears his throat. Officer Kincaid, Whitfield says, voice lower now. Do you recall your oath? That false testimony in this courtroom carries criminal liability? Yes, Your Honor, Kincaid says quickly, though his smirk twitches. Whitfield exhales, then speaks carefully. We will continue. Ms. Holmes, you may proceed. Ariel turns back to her line of questioning. Officer, if you're so confident Ms. Carter assaulted you, why was she never booked for resisting? Why only these vague charges? Disorderly conduct, obstruction, striking with an elbow? Why not resisting arrest, the standard add-on? Kincaid stiffens. Discretion, ma'am. I exercise discretion. Discretion? Ariel repeats, each syllable sharp. Or fabrication? The gallery gasps. Kincaid reddens. Ariel doesn't let him recover. The video shows you closing distance, not Ms. Carter. It shows you reaching for her phone, not her striking you. Are you telling this court that every citizen who records an officer is guilty of disorderly conduct? Kincaid tries to laugh, but it comes out hollow. Depends on context. Exactly, Ariel says. Context and accountability, which you've avoided. Through it all, Maya remains steady, her eyes locked on the seal above the bench. But her thoughts race. Who is the woman in charcoal? Why does the judge keep glancing at her? Then, during a pause, the woman finally stands. She doesn't ask permission. She doesn't need to. Her voice is clear, controlled, carrying authority even without a robe. Your Honor, she says, for the record, I am Dana Whitfield, counsel for the State Judicial Integrity Commission, and your daughter. The courtroom freezes. Reporters' pens halt mid-stroke. Ariel blinks once but recovers instantly. Maya grips the edge of the table, the truth slamming into place. Judge Whitfield exhales slowly, his eyes closing for a beat before reopening with steel. Noted, Kincaid sputters. What is this? Objection, she can't. But the judge cuts him off. Silence, officer, you've spoken enough. Dana steps closer to the bench, gaze steady on Kincaid. I've reviewed complaints against you for months. Body cam malfunctions. Civilian reports ignored. Tonight's evidence is not the first inconsistency, it's just the first caught on tape. Gasps ripple through the gallery. Ariel seizes the opening. Your Honor, with this testimony and the civilian videos, the state's probable cause collapses. This case cannot stand. Whitfield's gavel finally falls, sharp against wood. Probable cause is not established. Charges against Ms. Carter are dismissed with prejudice. The gallery erupts, half in cheers, half in shock. Reporters scramble for phones, their voices rising as they dictate headlines. Judge's daughter exposes corrupt officer in real time. Maya breathes for the first time all morning. The weight she carried dissolves, leaving her lightheaded but steady. She looks at Dana Whitfield, who gives her a small nod, not of triumph, but of recognition, solidarity. Officer Kincaid stares, jaw slack, the smirk finally gone. For the first time, he looks small, stripped of the uniform's false weight. Judge Whitfield's voice cuts through the chaos. This court will adjourn. Officer Kincaid, remain for further inquiry. As the gallery empties in a storm of whispers and camera flashes, Maya lingers with Ariel. Who would have thought, Ariel murmurs, that the one person he couldn't intimidate was sitting in plain sight? Maya exhales, her lips curving in a quiet smile. The truth always catches up, and in that moment, under the marble's weight, justice finally feels less like theory and more like air she can breathe. The courthouse steps looked like a stage when Maya finally emerged. Reporters surged forward, cameras clicking, microphones thrust toward her face. She blinked against the flashbulbs but kept her spine straight, Ariel at her side like a shield. "Ms. Carter, how do you feel after the dismissal? Do you plan to press charges against Officer Kincaid? Were you aware Judge Whitfield's daughter was in the courtroom?" The questions came like bullets. Maya kept her lips sealed, her attorney answering only with a curt, "No comment, we'll release a statement later." But her silence didn't stop the frenzy. If anything, it fueled it. Inside, Kincaid was being escorted away, his smirk finally gone. Outside, Maya was free. But freedom came with a new storm. By the time she reached her car, her phone was already vibrating nonstop. Texts from friends, calls from coworkers, a dozen notifications from news apps. Breaking, judge's daughter exposes cops' lies in real time. Her face was on every screen. Ariel placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Don't read any of it tonight. Go home. Rest. Let the truth breathe before you let the noise in." Maya nodded, though she doubted she could shut the world out now. Meanwhile, inside the precinct, Kincaid paced like a caged animal. The locker room, once his kingdom of bravado, had turned silent. Younger officers avoided his eyes. A few veterans shook their heads, disappointment etched into every line of their faces. "You set us back years," one muttered. Kincaid slammed his locker. "I did my job. That girl made me look like a fool, and the Whitfields covered her." "Covered her?" the sergeant snapped. "She didn't need covering. The videos spoke for themselves." Kincaid's jaw clenched. "This isn't over." The sergeant gave him a long, hard look. "It better be, because the IA unit is already knocking on doors." But Kincaid didn't listen. Pride wouldn't let him. That night, Maya sat at her mother's kitchen table, the same table where biscuits and advice had shaped her childhood. Her mother, Evelyn Carter, set down a steaming mug of tea and folded her hands. "You stood steady," Evelyn said softly. "I saw the footage. You carried yourself the way I prayed you would." Maya exhaled, the tension in her chest loosening for the first time. "I was terrified, Mom. But Ariel told me to stand still, to let the truth catch up." Evelyn's eyes glistened. "That's the lesson your father taught me too. And it looks like Judge Whitfield taught his daughter the same." Maya thought of Dana Whitfield, poised, fearless, stepping forward when the moment demanded it. A stranger, yet not. A thread woven into her story at the exact second it threatened to unravel. Across town, Dana Whitfield sat in her apartment, phone buzzing with congratulatory messages and media requests. She ignored most of them. She hadn't acted for the cameras. She had acted because she couldn't stomach another lie going unchallenged. Her father called late, his voice heavy. "Donna, you blindsided me today." "You were letting him talk circles around her," she replied evenly. "You always taught me the law is only as strong as those who stand for it." A pause, then a sigh. "You're your mother's daughter." Dana smiled faintly. "That's the highest compliment you could give." Meanwhile, social media exploded. Hashtags trended within hours. #stand with Maya, #calm not cuffs, #Whitfield exposes corruption. Videos of Kincaid's testimony and Dana's reveal racked up millions of views. Comment sections split in two, some praising Maya for her courage, others attacking her with venom, parroting Kincaid's narrative that she had disrespected an officer. For every message of support, Maya saw one dripping with hate. She tried to take Ariel's advice and log off, but curiosity won. The words pierced anyway. "You'll never escape their noise if you listen to it," Evelyn reminded her gently. Maya closed her phone with trembling hands. In the precinct, Kincaid found allies in shadows. A few officers, bruised by embarrassment, muttered that the public was too quick to crucify one of their own. "He just enforced the law," they said. The media made him the villain. Kincaid latched onto those whispers like rope. "They turned her into a saint and me into a criminal. I won't let that stand." His reflection in the locker mirror stared back, eyes bloodshot, jaw tight, pride clinging even as his career cracked beneath him. The next day, Norfolk woke to front pages blazing with headlines. Courtroom shock, judge's daughter ends cop's lie. Editorials praised the Whitfield's integrity. Others questioned whether Dana had overstepped. But one truth was inescapable. Kincaid's credibility was shattered, and Maya Carter's name was no longer synonymous with defendant, but with resilient. At the rec center where Maya volunteered on weekends, kids rushed to her, hugging her legs. "We saw you on TV, you beat the bad cop." She smiled faintly, crouching to meet their eyes. No, the truth beat the lie. I just stood still long enough for people to see it. That evening, as the sun set gold across the city, Maya sat on her porch. The chaos hadn't vanished. If anything, it had just begun. But for the first time in days, she felt air fill her lungs without a weight pressing down. Dinah called, her voice calm but firm. Maya, this isn't over. He's humiliated, and men like him don't swallow that quietly. But if he comes again, he won't be facing you alone. Maya's chest tightened with gratitude. Thank you for stepping in when you did. You didn't need saving, Dana replied. You needed the truth confirmed. That's what the law is for. Maya looked out over her neighborhood, kids laughing down the block, candles flickering in windows. Maybe for the first time, she believed it. The law could be more than weight. It could be protection. But in the distance, a shadow lingered. Kincaid's pride. And pride, Maya knew, never surrenders quietly. Officer Brad Kincaid sat alone in the dim light of O'Malley's bar, the one place in Norfolk where uniforms sometimes drown their shame. His untouched beer warmed under the neon hum. The television above the counter replayed, for the third time that hour, the footage of his humiliation. Dana Whitfield standing, voice steady, her words exposing him in front of the entire courtroom. Every replay tightened the vice around his pride. Around him, conversations dipped, then hushed completely. Patrons recognized him, some with pity, others with contempt. He felt every stare like a blade. He slammed the beer aside and muttered, "They think they buried me. They have no idea who they're dealing with." Back at her mother's house, Maya scrolled through her phone despite Ariel's warning. The support messages piled high, hundreds of strangers calling her brave, hashtags still trending. But every fourth comment was venom. Another liar hiding behind identity. She disrespected law enforcement. Wait until she needs cops, then see who she calls. Her chest tightened. She shut the screen and set the phone face down. Evelyn entered the room carrying a folded blanket. "Don't you dare let them steal your peace," her mother said. "I'm trying," Maya whispered, "but their voices are so loud." Evelyn smoothed her daughter's braids back gently. Lies scream, truth whispers, but whispers last longer. The next morning, the Norfolk Police Department held a press conference. The chief, flanked by stiff-faced officers, announced that Internal Affairs had opened an investigation into Officer Kincaid. "We take allegations of misconduct seriously," he said, voice clipped. "Body cam accountability is non-negotiable." Reporters peppered him with questions. Will Kincaid be suspended? Is this part of a larger pattern? Does the department acknowledge systemic issues? The chief dodged, sweat beading under the cameras. The story had leapt beyond Norfolk. National outlets were circling now. And in the back of the press room, Kincaid seethed. Each word, each flashbulb, deepened his fury. Meanwhile, at the rec center, Maya tried to return to normalcy. She led an after-school reading circle, the children oblivious to the chaos outside. Naomi, the youngest, tugged on her sleeve mid-story. "Miss Maya, did that policeman lie about you?" The room went quiet. Even the older kids leaned closer. Maya chose her words carefully. Sometimes people in power tell stories that aren't true, but the truth always finds its way out. That's what happened in court. Naomi's brow furrowed. "Will he come back?" Maya swallowed, forcing calm. "If he does, he'll find more truth waiting for him." The children nodded, satisfied with her certainty, though her own heart felt less sure. Across town, in a nondescript diner, Kincaid met with two off-duty colleagues who shared his bitterness. "They made me a scapegoat," he hissed. "The department's throwing me to the wolves, the press is crucifying me, and that Carter girl? She's walking around like she owns the city." One officer shook his head. "You should let it go, Brad. The more you fight, the worse it gets." But Kincaid's eyes burned. "No, she humiliated me. The Whitfields humiliated me. I'll remind this city who wears the badge and who answers to it." His companions shifted uncomfortably, but neither contradicted him. They knew pride when it metastasized into obsession. That evening, Dana Whitfield called Maya. Her tone was brisk, but beneath it lay steel. "Maya, you need to know something. Kincaid's file doesn't just show missing footage. There are 5 civilian complaints in the past year. Excessive force, harassment, intimidation. Every one of them was buried." Maya's throat tightened. "And now?" "Now they're surfacing," Dana said, "because people saw you stand. They're coming forward. You gave them courage." Maya gripped the phone tighter, both humbled and unnerved. "I didn't ask to be anyone's symbol. No one ever does." Dana replied. But symbols don't get to choose. They're chosen. Later that night, Marcus stopped by Maya's house. He was a longtime family friend, a quiet presence who often helped with errands when Evelyn's arthritis flared. He leaned against the porch railing, voice low. Word is Kincaid's meeting with some bad company. Guys who don't mind breaking rules. If he feels cornered, he'll lash out. Maya's stomach twisted. Why tell me? Because you need to be ready. His pride's wounded. Wounded pride is dangerous. She nodded, her fingers tightening around the railing. For the first time, the victory in court felt less like an ending and more like the opening to another trial, one played not in marble chambers, but in shadows. Inside her room, Maya opened her journal. She wrote slowly, deliberately, each word anchoring her fear. Truth exposed, lies today. But lies don't surrender. They plot. Kincaid's pride is a storm circling. I feel it coming. Yet I won't retreat. Because silence would hand him the victory he couldn't win in court. She set the pen down and closed her eyes. Outside, the city hummed restless, headlights sweeping by like searchlights. Somewhere in that restless dark, Kincaid was planning his next move. And Maya knew her calm would be tested again, not by a gavel, but by the lengths a broken man might go to restore his pride. By sunrise, the story had leapt from local headlines to national screens. Every major outlet ran some version of the same lead. Black woman cleared after officer's lies exposed in court. Judge's daughter reveals truth. Clips of Dana Whitfield stepping forward replayed on morning shows, spliced with footage of Maya leaving the courthouse with Ariel at her side. In living rooms across America, people argued over breakfast. To some, Maya was proof that courage and composure could overcome abuse of power. To others, she was just another example of the system being undermined. And in Norfolk itself, the split was sharper. Neighbors left notes of support on Evelyn Carter's porch, flowers, cards, a casserole dish still warm. But down the block, someone spray-painted across a brick wall. Respect the badge. The city had chosen sides. At the rec center that afternoon, Maya tried to keep her focus on the children. They crowded around her with wide eyes, clutching printed screenshots of her face from the news. "You're famous," one boy declared, holding up his phone. Maya smiled faintly, kneeling to meet their gazes. Famous isn't what matters. What matters is telling the truth even when it's hard. Naomi frowned. But Miss Maya, the policeman still looks so angry. What if he comes back? Maya's heart clenched, but she kept her voice steady. Then we keep standing, and we keep telling the truth. Her words reassured them, though she felt the weight herself more heavily with every passing hour. Meanwhile, in the dim back room of a mechanic's shop, Kincaid plotted. The disgraced officer paced between tool benches, the grease-stained walls echoing his voice. They made me the villain. She made me a spectacle. Do you know what it feels like to lose everything because of one lie that got caught? A man in a leather jacket leaned back in his chair, unimpressed. You're asking us to clean up your pride, Brad? That's dangerous business. Kincaid slammed his fist on the table. This isn't about pride. It's about respect. She ruined my name. If I let that stand, every cop in this city looks weak. Another man, older and sharper, exhaled smoke and said flatly, or maybe you just made yourself weak. But Kincaid's eyes burned. Help me remind this city who holds power. They worship her now, but myths can be broken. The men exchanged looks. Pride and desperation had a way of infecting even the cautious. The storm Kincaid promised began to take form. That evening, Dana called Maya again. Her voice was clipped but urgent. IA has officially suspended Kincaid pending investigation. That should help. Maya sat on her porch, the cool night breeze lifting her braids. Suspension won't stop him. You saw his face in court. He isn't done. Dana hesitated. You're right. He's dangerous because he feels cornered. But you're not alone in this, Maya. If he tries again, he won't just face you. He'll face me. He'll face the law. Maya whispered, I believe you. I just wish the law felt stronger than fear. Dana's tone softened. Sometimes it doesn't feel strong. Sometimes it feels fragile, but that's why people like us have to hold it steady. Across town, Evelyn Carter prepared dinner, humming quietly. She glanced at her daughter, who sat staring at her untouched plate. Maya, she said gently, don't let him live rent-free in your head. Fear feeds men like him. Maya rubbed her temples. He doesn't just want me, Mom. He wants to prove he can't be broken. That means anyone near me is at risk. Evelyn's eyes softened. Then all the more reason to stay strong. You're not just standing for yourself now, you're standing for everyone who's ever been lied about. Maya nodded slowly, hearing the echo of her mother's wisdom, but the weight pressed heavier. Later that night, Marcus, the family friend who always seemed to know the city's pulse, knocked on the door. He carried a folded flyer he'd picked up downtown. In bold letters it read, "Support our police. Rally tomorrow, courthouse steps." "They're mobilizing," Marcus said grimly, "and Kincaid's name is all over the chatter." Maya scanned the flyer. "So he's trying to rebuild his image." Marcus shook his head. "No, he's baiting you. He knows you won't stay silent. He wants you there so he can twist it back around." Maya exhaled, long and steady. "Then I won't go. I won't give him the chance." But inside she knew silence wouldn't protect her forever. The storm was circling whether she showed up or not. At midnight, she opened her journal again. The page filled slowly, her handwriting precise. "I didn't choose this fight, but it chose me. Kincaid lost in court, and now he's searching for another battlefield. He thinks lies can outlast truth if shouted loud enough. But truth doesn't shout. Truth waits, and I will keep standing still until it catches up again." She closed the journal and set it on her nightstand. Outside, the streetlight flickered, shadows stretching longer across the sidewalk. Somewhere in that shadow, pride sharpened its claws, planning its next strike. And Maya knew, the courtroom victory was only round one. The courthouse square filled by noon, a sea of blue and white signs lifted high under a glaring spring sun. "Support our police, back the badge, and law and order first," were painted in bold block letters. Patriotic songs blared from portable speakers, mixing awkwardly with the angry chants that rippled through the crowd. Brad Kincaid stood at the center like a man reclaiming lost ground. He wore his uniform despite the suspension, the badge still pinned, though technically stripped of authority. A microphone crackled in his hand. "They want you to believe I'm the villain," he thundered, sweat glistening on his temples. "They want you to think a disrespectful civilian can undermine years of service. But today we remind them who keeps order in this city." The crowd roared, fists pumping. Reporters scribbled furiously at the edges, cameras rolling. At home, Maya watched the live stream on her laptop, jaw tight. The volume of the chants rattled through her speakers. "Kincaid! Kincaid! Back the blue!" Evelyn set a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Don't watch, baby. Don't let his noise inside." Maya shook her head. "I need to see how far he'll go. He's not just defending himself anymore, he's painting me as the enemy." Sure enough, the screen shifted. Kincaid's voice rose, venom sharp. "She lied about me. She dragged a good cop's name through the mud with doctored videos and crooked allies. And she had help from the judge's daughter herself. Is this justice, or is this corruption at the highest level?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some cheered, others murmured uneasily. But the damage was done. Maya's name had been thrown back into the fire. Across town, Dana Whitfield watched the same broadcast from her office. Her jaw clenched as Kincaid spat her name into the microphone. She grabbed her phone, dialing quickly. "Maya, you saw it?" "Yes," Maya said quietly. "He's baiting me." Dana's voice hardened. "Then don't bite. He wants you there. He wants another stage." "But what if staying silent makes it look like he's right?" Maya whispered. Dana paused. "Silence isn't surrender. It's discipline. Let his noise collapse on itself." Maya closed her eyes, wishing discipline felt as solid as Dana made it sound. At the rally, the energy grew darker. Some in the crowd shouted Maya's name directly now, twisting it into an insult. A man waved a sign scrawled with "Liar Carter." Others joined in, their anger rising like heat from the pavement. Kincaid fed it. "If we let one woman's lies topple an officer, what's next? Who will protect you when mobs rule the streets? We cannot let them win." The cheers shook the square, but among the noise, counter-protesters gathered across the street. They held candles and posters. "Truth matters. Justice for Maya. No more lies." Their chants were softer but steady, each word a reminder that Kincaid hadn't won the narrative yet. The police line strained between the two groups, tension humming. Marcus found Maya pacing her porch that evening, phone buzzing with notifications. "He's pushing hard," he said grimly, "and the city's split right down the middle. Some are with you, some with him. It's a powder keg." Maya pressed her palms together, grounding herself. "He's trying to draw me out. If I show up at one of these rallies, he'll twist it. If I stay silent, he spreads his poison unchecked. Marcus studied her. Then you need a third option. Not silence. Not confrontation. Something he can't control. What's that? Maya asked. Truth, Marcus said simply, but told louder than he can scream. That night, Maya sat with Ariel and Dana around Evelyn's kitchen table. The three women leaned over a laptop, drafting a public statement. It has to be strong but not defensive, Ariel said, typing rapidly. Facts, not fire. Dana added, and we release it with evidence. The full videos, the reports, the records of his body cam malfunctions. We let the city see everything, no edits. Maya hesitated. Will people even listen? His crowd doesn't want evidence. They want a villain. Evelyn, stirring tea at the stove, turned. Then show them you won't be the villain. Show them you won't flinch. Even if they don't all listen, some will. And some is enough. Maya looked at her mother, then at the two women beside her. The fear in her chest softened. Not gone, but tempered. She nodded. Okay, we'll show them the truth. Loud enough he can't drown it out. Across the city, Kincaid raised a glass with his small circle of allies, still buzzing from the rally. Did you see their faces? He gloated. She's cornered. She can't hide behind judges forever. The people know I'm right. One ally muttered. Or maybe they just know you're loud. Kincaid ignored him, pride swelling. Next rally, she'll show up. I'll force her hand. And when she cracks, everyone will see she was never the calm one, just a coward. But pride blinds more than it guides. And Kincaid didn't realize the truth was already gathering, waiting to be unleashed against him. That night, Maya opened her journal, her handwriting steady despite exhaustion. Today he shouted my name to the city, trying to turn truth into lies again. But lies don't last. Tomorrow, we show everything. Not to match his noise, but to remind people that whispers can outlast screams. I will not chase his chaos. I will stand still until the truth catches him again. She closed the journal and looked out her window. The street was quiet, the candles of her neighbors glowing faintly in support. For the first time since the trial, she believed discipline might be enough. But she also knew the storm wasn't finished. By sunrise, Maya's statement was everywhere. Overnight, Ariel had polished the draft, Dana had attached scanned records from internal affairs, and Evelyn had insisted they include a personal note about courage over fear. When it went live on social media, it spread like fire. The post opened simply, "My name is Maya Carter. Last week, Officer Brad Kincaid lied about me in open court. He said I assaulted him. The truth, captured on video, proved otherwise. Now, he rallies crowds and calls me a liar again. I will not match his shouting with shouting. I will stand still with the truth." Below, Ariel had embedded the uncut videos, timestamps visible, angles clear. Dana added scanned memos of Kincaid's repeated body cam malfunctions, each one highlighted in bold. Evelyn's words closed the statement. Whispers of truth last longer than screams of lies. Within an hour, Hatch stand with. Maya trended again, bigger than before. News anchors dissected the post with the kind of breathless urgency normally reserved for elections or disasters. She's calling his bluff, one said. By releasing unedited evidence, she takes away his narrative. But critics fired back just as quickly. She's grandstanding. She's undermining law enforcement by attacking an officer's credibility. On the courthouse steps, supporters lit candles while counter-protesters waved flags. Norfolk's air thickened with tension again, but now the truth wasn't hidden in court transcripts. It was public property. At the precinct, the mood soured. Officers who had once defended Kincaid now avoided him. His locker was tagged with a single word scrawled in marker, liar. Kincaid ripped the paper down, face red. They think they can erase me with one post? With one girl? But the silence around him was heavy. Even those who pitied him couldn't ignore the evidence. In the chief's office, voices carried. "We have no choice," the captain said. "If IA confirms this, termination is inevitable." Kincaid overheard, jaw clenching so hard his teeth ached. He stormed out, pride hollowing into obsession. At home, Maya sat with Evelyn as the phone buzzed nonstop. Journalists requested interviews, advocacy groups offered support, strangers sent encouragement. She read only a handful before setting the phone aside. "It's bigger than me now," Maya whispered. Evelyn nodded, stroking her hand. "Yes, baby. But it started with you. You planted the seed." The rest is just roots spreading. Maya exhaled. And he won't stop until he cuts it down. Her mother's gaze hardened. Then let your roots grow deeper. He can't cut what he can't reach. Dana visited that evening, tablet under her arm. Maya, your statement is a problem for him, not just in the court of opinion, legally. IA called me this morning. They're fast-tracking his case. If he lashes out again, it'll only confirm what we already know. His pride controls him. Maya rubbed her temples. That's what I'm afraid of. He won't just lash out with words this time. Dana's voice softened. Then we'll make sure you're not alone. Ariel, joining late, added, and don't forget, you've already won twice. Once in the courtroom, once in the court of public opinion. He's the one drowning, not you. Meanwhile, in the back of the same mechanic's shop where he'd plotted before, Kincaid gathered with his bitter allies. She humiliated me again, he spat, waving a printout of Maya's statement. She has the city wrapped around her finger. Videos, records, it doesn't matter. People believe what they see. One ally shrugged. Then you can't fight with words anymore. You have to show them something different. Kincaid's eyes glinted with desperation. Then we make her look weak. We scare her. If she cracks in public, the myth collapses. The men exchanged uneasy looks, but no one stopped him. Pride, once poisoned, rarely heals. The next day, Maya returned to the rec center. Children clustered around her, eager to show support. One boy had drawn a picture of her standing tall against a storm cloud, the word truth shining like a sun. She smiled, though her chest tightened. Thank you. This means more than you know. Marcus, leaning near the door, whispered, Word is Kincaid's been seen with rough company again. Keep your eyes open. He's not finished. Maya nodded, grounding herself in slow breath. Then I'll do what I've always done. Stand still and let the truth catch up. That evening, as she wrote in her journal, her words flowed steady despite her unease. Today I spoke louder than his noise, not with anger, but with evidence. The truth is free now. It belongs to the city, not just to me. He will rage, he will scheme, but every strike he makes only proves what he fears most. That calm cannot be broken by pride. If I am a symbol, then let me be a symbol of stillness in storms. She set the pen down and closed the journal. Outside, the city buzzed with tension, rallies and counter-rallies echoing into the night. Somewhere in the shadows, Kincaid sharpened his plan. And Maya knew, the real confrontation hadn't arrived yet. But when it did, she would not face it alone. The morning after Maya's statement, the city felt restless, like a held breath. On one block, neighbors taped printouts of her words in their windows. Across town, others muttered that she was stirring trouble. Norfolk had become two cities in one lit by candles of support, the other shadowed by resentment. Maya felt it everywhere. At the grocery store, a woman whispered, "Thank you," while slipping a note of encouragement into her basket. Minutes later, a man muttered, "Liar," under his breath as she passed. She kept her head high, but her chest carried the weight of both reactions. At the checkout, Evelyn's voice echoed in her mind. Whispers last longer than screams. She clung to that thought like an anchor. Meanwhile, in the shadow of the old shipyard, Kincaid laid out his plan to the same men who had listened too quietly before. His pride burned hotter with every headline. "She made me a joke," he hissed. "Every time I walk downtown, someone stares. Some smirk, some spit." He slammed his fist on the table. "That ends now. If she wants to be a symbol, then let's make the symbol crack." One man asked, "What's your play?" Kincaid's grin was thin, sharp. "Fear. We hit her where she lives, where she works. Not violence, not yet. Just enough to shake her. Just enough to make people see she's not as steady as they think." The men exchanged looks. They knew pride had tipped into obsession, but no one said no. That evening, Marcus stopped by Evelyn's porch, his voice low. "Word is, Brad's been spotted cruising past your street, twice in the last week." Maya stiffened. "Watching?" "Or planning," Marcus said. "Either way, it's not good." Evelyn's eyes flashed. "If he thinks he can scare us in our own home," Maya interrupted softly, "that's exactly what he wants, Mom. To make us afraid." She took a slow breath, steadying herself. "Then we won't give him that power." Marcus studied her, then nodded. "Stay sharp." "He's circling." The first sign came the next morning at the rec center. A window was smashed, glass glittering across the gym floor, spray painted on the brick wall in jagged letters, "Calm breaks." The children gasped when they arrived. Naomi clung to Maya's arm. "Who did this?" Maya crouched to meet her eyes. Someone who's afraid of the truth. But broken glass doesn't break us. She gathered the children inside, sweeping the glass herself before practice began. The kids watched her, wide-eyed, as she moved with steady hands. They played basketball that day louder than usual, every dribble an act of defiance. But Maya knew. This was only the beginning. That night, a package arrived on her porch. No return address. Evelyn hesitated before opening it. Inside lay a smashed phone and a note scrawled in block letters. "Next time, it's you." Maya's stomach turned, but her voice stayed even. "This is his fear, not mine." Dana arrived within the hour, her expression grim. "This is intimidation. Classic, sloppy but dangerous. We'll file it immediately." Ariel joined them, flipping the note over carefully with a pen. "He's slipping. A man who had control wouldn't leave evidence like this." "But a man who's slipping is the most dangerous," Dana added. Maya set the note down, her hands steady despite the chill in her bones. "Then I'll stand steadier." The next day, the media caught wind of the vandalism. Cameras swarmed the rec center, reporters asking if Maya felt threatened. She stood before the shattered window, children gathered behind her, and spoke clearly. "They want you to believe fear is stronger than truth, but fear only makes us louder. We are not broken. We will not bow." The children raised their handmade signs. "We stand with Maya," and the image ricocheted across the internet. To supporters, it was proof of resilience. To detractors, proof she was courting attention. But either way, the narrative wasn't Kincaid's anymore. In the precinct, whispers about him grew louder. Officers avoided his gaze. Internal affairs shadowed his every move. Still, his pride refused to yield. "They cheer for her now," he muttered to himself in the locker room. "But when she stumbles, when she cracks, they'll remember me." Pride had become his only fuel, and it was burning him alive. That night, Maya wrote in her journal again, the page lit by her bedside lamp. "He tried to shake me with broken glass, with broken words. But calm is not glass, it does not shatter. Calm is stone. His fear is louder, but my stillness is stronger. If I must be a symbol, then let me be a symbol of standing when fear says fall." She closed the journal, exhaling slowly. Outside, headlights swept past the house, lingering a beat too long. Evelyn stiffened at the window, Marcus's warning echoing in her mind. The storm wasn't circling anymore. It was at their door. Norfolk woke restless. Headlines screamed about the vandalism at the rec center, and photos of Maya standing in front of shattered glass with children holding signs were plastered across every screen. To her supporters, the image was powerful, truth refusing to bow to intimidation. To her critics, it was proof she was making herself the story. The city was no longer whispering, it was shouting. Maya felt the divide everywhere she went. In the cafe near her office, a woman leaned close and whispered, "You're brave. Don't stop." 10 minutes later, a man muttered, "You're tearing this city apart," as he brushed past. Every sidewalk, every storefront had become a referendum on her name. At the precinct, Kincaid seethed in silence. His suspension meant no badge, no patrol, no authority, but he refused to accept irrelevance. His locker sat empty now, his nameplate stripped. Yet in the corners of the city, he still found ears willing to listen, men who shared his bitterness, officers who muttered about media trials, and agitators who thrived on chaos. "She made me a villain," he told them one night in the shipyard. "But villains don't disappear. Villains come back." The men exchanged wary glances. Even they knew his pride was curdling into something reckless, but none dared tell him no. Meanwhile, Maya tried to hold on to normal life. At the rec center, she read stories to children under taped-up windows. Their trust steadied her, but she saw fear in their eyes. When a car backfired outside, Naomi flinched hard enough to drop her book. Maya knelt beside her. "It's just noise," she whispered. "Noise can't hurt us." But Naomi's small hands trembled, and Maya knew. Children shouldn't have to learn courage so young. That evening, Dana arrived with new files from Internal Affairs. "Kincaid's in deeper than we thought," she said, dropping them on the kitchen table. 5 separate civilian complaints. 2 witnesses from your case have come forward with statements. His entire record is unraveling." Ariel scanned the pages, lips pursed. "So why isn't he gone yet?" "Because bureaucracy moves slow," Dana replied. "And because men like him fight tooth and nail. He's cornered, and that makes him dangerous." Maya exhaled, steady but heavy. "So the closer we get to truth, the harder he'll strike back." "Exactly," Dana said, and strike he did. 2 nights later, Evelyn found a note pinned to their front door with a kitchen knife. The paper was ragged, the handwriting jagged. "Next time it won't be glass, stay silent or pay." Maya pulled the note free with calm hands, though her stomach twisted. "He's escalating." Marcus, who had stopped by with groceries, swore under his breath. "This isn't intimidation anymore. It's a threat." Dana's voice on the phone was steel. "File it, now. Don't let him control the narrative." But Maya's voice was calm. "If I show fear, he wins. I won't give him that satisfaction." The next morning, news broke anyway. A neighbor had snapped a photo of police pulling the knife from the door. Within hours, it was everywhere. Maya Carter threatened after exposing officer. Crowds gathered downtown. Candles on one side, flags on the other. Supporters chanted her name. Counter-protesters shouted it like an insult. Norfolk's heart beat in conflict. The city split by one woman's stillness against one man's pride. That evening, Evelyn sat beside her daughter on the porch. "Baby, you can't keep carrying this alone. Every time he strikes, you answer with calm. But calm doesn't mean you can't lean on others." Maya rested her head against her mother's shoulder. "I know, but if I crack, what does that teach the kids? What does that tell the people who whispered their truth because they saw me stand?" Evelyn's eyes glistened. "It tells them you're human, and being human doesn't mean you're broken." Across town, Kincaid watched the news from a dingy motel room. The anchor's words seared into him. "Officer Kincaid suspended, now facing possible termination as threats against Maya Carter escalate." His fist slammed the nightstand. "They're painting me as the monster, but she started this. She dragged me into the light." He stared at himself in the cracked mirror. The uniform still hung on the chair, a relic of authority slipping through his fingers. "If calm makes her strong," he muttered, "then fear will make her break." That night, Maya opened her journal. Her pen moved slower than usual, but the words came steady. "They left a knife in our door. They want me to bend, to cower, to run. But calm is not bending. Calm is not running. Calm is standing when fear bangs the loudest. If children can trust me to be steady, then I must trust myself the same." She closed the book, the quiet in the room heavy but firm. Outside, the street was still. Too still. The storm wasn't just circling anymore, it was pressing closer, daring her to blink. Norfolk hadn't felt this tense in years. Every corner of the city hummed with argument, on street corners, in coffee shops, even in church pews. Some lit candles and whispered Maya's name with reverence. Others waved flags and shouted that she was destroying order. For the first time, Norfolk's conflict wasn't hidden in courtrooms or newspapers. It was alive in the streets. And at the center of that conflict, Brad Kincaid sharpened his plan. From his motel room, he scribbled on yellow notepads littered across the bed, words scrawled in jagged ink. Rally. Media. Weakness. His eyes burned red from sleepless nights, his reflection in the cracked mirror gaunt, hollow, but driven. He muttered to himself over and over, "They'll see she's no hero. They'll see she can break." He called his allies, those same bitter men who had nodded silently before. "Next vigil," he said, his voice sharp as glass. "We make it ours. We scare her in front of everyone. We turn her calm into silence." They hesitated, but his pride was contagious. Soon the plan was in motion. Maya, meanwhile, sat at the rec center, sorting donated books with Naomi perched at her side. The little girl flipped through pages of a worn copy of Charlotte's Web. "Miss Maya," she asked quietly, "why do they hate you if you told the truth?" Maya paused, placing a book gently on the stack. "Because sometimes, Naomi, the truth makes people afraid, and fear can turn into hate." Naomi frowned. "Does that mean they'll never stop?" Maya smiled faintly, brushing a braid from the girl's face. "It means we keep telling the truth anyway, even if it's hard." The words steadied Maya as much as the child, but deep inside, she felt the tremor of what was coming. That evening, Dana and Ariel joined her at Evelyn's kitchen table again. The air was heavy with exhaustion and urgency. "IA has enough to terminate him," Dana said, sliding papers across. "But paperwork takes time, and in time, he'll make another move. He won't go quietly." Ariel nodded grimly. "We need to prepare for a public confrontation. He's baiting you at rallies. If he escalates again, you can't be caught off guard." Maya folded her hands. "I don't want a confrontation. I don't want to fight him in the streets." Dana's voice softened but stayed firm. "You may not want it, but the storm is coming anyway. And when it does, Standing still will matter more than ever. Maya looked at them both, then at her mother by the stove. Evelyn met her eyes, nodding once. Strength doesn't choose the day, it answers it. 2 nights later, the city gathered again, this time for a vigil outside the courthouse. Supporters carried candles, their soft glow rising into the dark sky. They sang quietly, voices weaving peace through the tense air. Across the street, counter-protesters chanted louder, flags snapping, their noise pressing against the calm. Maya stood among her supporters, hands clasped, her presence steady. Cameras caught every angle, her face illuminated by candlelight, her silence louder than the chants. But in the shadows, Kincaid watched. His allies lingered near exits, their movements sharp, deliberate. One held a smoke bomb hidden in his jacket. Another clutched a chain. "Tonight," Kincaid whispered, "we show the city she's just human. We make her flinch." The first smoke bomb hit the ground with a hiss, spilling gray clouds into the vigil. Screams erupted as candles tumbled, wax scattering across the pavement. Parents grabbed children, pulling them close. The chants of the counter-protesters turned triumphant, feeding the chaos. Reporters shouted into microphones, "Breaking now! Disturbance at the vigil!" Maya coughed as the smoke curled around her, but she didn't move. She held her ground, her voice carrying over the panic. "Stay calm! Hold your candles high! Don't run!" Her steadiness rippled outward. Supporters who had begun to scatter turned back, lifting their candles again through the haze. Their voices, shaky at first, rose in unison. "Truth matters! Truth matters!" Kincaid's jaw tightened. He motioned to his men. "Push harder!" One ally swung his chain against a barricade, the clatter echoing like thunder. Another shoved into the crowd, knocking candles to the ground. But every shove was met not with fists, but with steadiness. Parents forming shields, veterans raising hands in salute. Police sirens cut through the noise, cruisers screeching onto the square. Officers poured out, struggling to separate the sides. Reporters broadcast live as the chaos unfolded, smoke swirling, candles flickering, chants and shouts colliding. And at the center, Maya stood unmoving, her hands clasped, her voice steady. "We will not break. We will not bow." Cameras zoomed in. Across the nation, millions watched a single figure holding calm against the storm. Kincaid saw it too, and for the first time, doubt cracked his pride. That night, Maya sat at her desk, journal open, pen steady despite the tremor in her muscles. Tonight they tried again. Smoke, noise, fear. They wanted me to scatter, to shatter, to break. But calm does not scatter. Calm endures. Every time they strike, they reveal themselves more clearly. And every time, truth grows stronger. She paused, staring at the ink. But storms don't fade easily. And I know, the next strike will be harder still. She closed the book, exhaling slowly. Outside her window, the city glowed with candles still burning in windows long after the vigil ended. The whispers of truth had outlasted the screams of pride. For now. By dawn, the vigil's smoke still lingered in Norfolk's memory. News outlets replayed the footage on loop. Candles raised through the haze, parents shielding children, and Maya's voice cutting clear. "We will not break. We will not bow." Commentators couldn't agree. "She's inspiring a movement," one declared. Another warned, "This looks like an uprising against authority." The nation was no longer just watching Norfolk. It was debating it. Maya woke to dozens of missed calls, messages, and media requests. Evelyn gently placed a cup of tea in her hands. "Baby, you don't have to answer the world today. Let them argue. You just breathe." But Maya knew silence had limits. "If I don't speak, they'll fill the silence with his lies." Evelyn's eyes softened. "Then speak carefully. Words are seeds. You decide if they grow hope or fear." Across town, Kincaid's motel room buzzed with the low murmur of his allies. The smoke bomb stunt hadn't broken Maya. It had backfired. Instead of scattering, her supporters had grown louder. One ally muttered, "She made you look weak again, Brad. Standing there calm while we caused chaos?" People saw the difference. Kincaid's face flushed. "No. They only saw what cameras wanted them to see. She's playing the hero." Another man leaned forward. "Then stop trying to scare her. Fear isn't enough. If you want to destroy her, you need something bigger. Something that proves she's not untouchable." Kincaid's eyes glinted with dangerous resolve. "Then we go bigger. No more warnings." Later that morning, Dana and Ariel met Maya at the rec center. The shattered window had been replaced, but the paint still scarred the brick. Children's laughter echoed in the gym. an attempt at normalcy. Dana set down her tablet, her expression grim. IA is closing in. Kincaid's suspension is likely to become termination within days. That makes him more dangerous than ever. He has nothing left to lose. Ariel nodded. The smoke bombs were a stunt. The next move will be worse. Maya folded her hands. So what do we do? Hide? Run? That's what he wants, to make me disappear. Dana leaned forward, eyes steady. You do the opposite. You step forward again. You speak, not just to Norfolk but to the nation. If the whole country sees your steadiness, his noise will shrink. Maya hesitated. You're asking me to be more than I ever wanted to be. Dana's voice softened. Symbols don't choose themselves, they're chosen. And right now, the country has chosen you. That evening, Maya sat in front of a camera for a live interview on national television. The lights were hot, the host's questions sharp. Ms. Carter, critics say you're dividing Norfolk by standing against law enforcement. How do you respond? Maya's voice was calm, deliberate. I am not against law enforcement, I am against lies. A badge is meant to protect truth, not bury it. When an officer lies, it dishonors every honest one. The host pressed. And the threats against you? Do you fear for your safety? Maya's gaze didn't waver. Fear is what they want. Calm is what I choose, and calm is stronger. The clip exploded online within hours. Her words replayed across networks, quoted in headlines, painted on protest signs. Calm is what I choose. In his motel room, Kincaid hurled a remote at the screen. She makes herself untouchable with words. She turns every attack into strength. His ally in the leather jacket leaned closer. Then words won't stop her. If you want to break her, you need chaos big enough the cameras can't spin it. What do you mean? Kincaid asked. The man's eyes narrowed. The courthouse. Next rally. You don't just heckle her, you shut it down. Force the city to see disorder, not discipline. If she can't control it, her myth collapses. Kincaid grinned, the plan already sparking in his mind. Then we give them chaos they can't ignore. Back at home, Maya wrote in her journal, the lamplight flickering. Today I spoke to a nation. I told them calm is a choice, but calm does not mean easy. Every word I said, I felt his shadow pressing closer. He is circling tighter, more desperate, more dangerous. Yet each time he strikes, I will answer the same. Not with fists, not with rage, but with stillness. Because stillness is not silence, it is strength. She paused, pen hovering. But I know now, the storm's final strike is coming. And when it does, it won't be hidden in shadows. It will be loud, public, and meant to break me. She closed the journal, exhaling slowly. Outside, the city glowed with the fractured light of candles and flags, truth and pride colliding in the streets. The storm wasn't just circling anymore, it was building. The next rally was announced within hours of Maya's interview. Flyers spread across Norfolk like wildfire. Digital versions blasted on social media, paper ones plastered to lampposts and shop fronts. The headline screamed, "Stand for law, stand against lies, courthouse rally, Friday night." Everyone knew who the lies meant, and everyone knew who would be at the center of it. The city braced. Businesses downtown boarded their windows. Churches held vigils, praying for peace. The police chief held a press conference, his voice strained. We urge citizens to remain calm. We will maintain order. But even he looked uncertain, knowing calm had become one woman's domain, not the department's. Friday came heavy with humidity, the air thick as if holding its breath. By dusk, the courthouse square pulsed with competing voices. On one side, Kincaid's supporters waved flags and shouted chants about law and order. On the other, Maya's supporters held candles again, their voices softer but steady. Police in riot gear lined the steps, helmets gleaming under the streetlights. Maya stood at the edge of her crowd, Evelyn and Marcus flanking her. Dana and Ariel had insisted she stay home, but she refused. If I hide, he wins, she told them. Now her face was lit by candlelight, calm etched into every line, even as fear simmered in her chest. Across the square, Kincaid arrived. He wore his suspended uniform again, the badge gleaming though stripped of power. His presence sent a ripple through the crowd. He grabbed a megaphone, voice booming. They call her a hero, he sneered. But heroes don't lie. Heroes don't smear the men who keep you safe. Tonight, we remind this city who holds the line. His crowd roared, the sound crashing against the chants of Maya's supporters. The police line trembled between them. Then the plan unfolded. Kincaid's allies, hidden in the crowd, lit smoke bombs, thick clouds rising, turning night into chaos. Candles scattered, screams echoed, chants dissolved into panic. A man hurled a bottle that shattered against a cruiser, glass sparkling under the floodlights. "Hold your ground," Kincaid shouted. "Show them they can't control you." The square erupted. Supporters shoved each other, fists flying, the police line breaking under the surge. Reporters went live instantly. "We're witnessing chaos at the Norfolk courthouse. Smoke, clashes, total disorder." Through the smoke, Maya stepped forward. Her supporters cried out, trying to pull her back, but she raised her hands, her voice cutting through the noise. "Stop! Everyone! Stop!" Her words rang louder than the megaphone. The crowd hesitated, heads turning toward her silhouette glowing in the haze. She lifted a candle, its flame flickering but unbroken. "This is what they want," she said, voice steady. "They want chaos. They want fear. But fear does not lead us. Truth does. Hold your candles high. Do not bow." One by one, her supporters relit their candles, flames piercing the smoke. Their chant rose again. "Truth matters. Truth matters." Not frantic now, but strong, measured, unshakable. Kincaid's smirk faltered. He grabbed his megaphone, shouting, "She's manipulating you. She's weak. Look, she hides behind words." But even some of his supporters wavered, watching the calm spread like fire. The contrast was too sharp. On one side, fists and smoke. On the other, steady hands holding light. Police regrouped, pushing back the agitators. Sirens wailed, cuffs clicked, the chaos slowly shrinking under discipline. And all the while, Maya stood unmoving, her candle burning steady. By midnight, the square was scarred. Trash scattered, smoke lingering, sirens echoing. But no one could deny what they had seen. News anchors replayed the footage within hours, Maya's calm silhouette against the haze, her voice clear, her supporters lifting candles again and again. "She turned chaos into discipline," one anchor said, without striking a blow. Editorials called it a turning point. To some, proof that truth could withstand fury. To others, infuriating evidence that one woman had more authority in the streets than the police. In his motel room, Kincaid watched in silence, jaw tight. His ally finally spoke. "She won again. The cameras don't care about smoke or fists, they only care about her." Kincaid hurled the remote against the wall. "Then we take away the cameras. Next time we strike where they don't see, and then she breaks." His reflection in the cracked mirror stared back, pride hollowing into rage. At home, Maya opened her journal, the lamplight steady. Tonight, chaos came again. They threw smoke, fists, fire. But calm endured. "We held candles high and light cut through the haze. Fear is loud, but fear cannot last. Still, I know. Storms grow desperate when they cannot win. And desperation is dangerous." She closed the journal, exhaling slowly. Evelyn touched her shoulder, whispering, "Baby, you were the calm tonight. They saw it." Maya nodded, her gaze steady. But in her chest, she felt the truth. The storm had not passed. It had only been pushed back, and the final strike was still coming. Norfolk woke to headlines screaming about the courthouse chaos. News stations replayed the footage again and again. Smoke swirling, candles rising, Maya Carter standing calm while rage roared around her. To some, she was a symbol of courage. To others, a threat. And in a motel room on the city's edge, Brad Kincaid watched in silence. He hadn't spoken since the riot ended. His allies shifted nervously, unsure whether to speak. Finally, one muttered, "Cameras made her a hero again. People only see her calm, not the mess we made." Brad didn't turn. He just stared at the screen, jaw tight, eyes cold. When he finally spoke, his voice was flat. "Then next time, we take away the cameras." The room fell silent. That afternoon, Maya met with Donna and Ariel in a small law office downtown. Papers cluttered the desk, evidence files stacked high. "IA's report will recommend termination," Dana said, flipping through documents. "But Brad's not waiting around to be fired. He's planning something bigger." Ariel nodded. "We've intercepted chatter online. His allies are angry, desperate. They want to hit you where there are no lights, no reporters." Maya leaned back, exhaling slowly. "They think they can scare me off camera? That truth only lives on TV?" Dana studied her. "Truth lives where you stand, Maya. But don't underestimate men with nothing to lose." That night, Evelyn insisted Maya stay home. "Baby, the city's boiling. Let the lawyers handle this. Let the police protect you. Maya shook her head. The same police who stood silent when he shoved me in court? Who watched while he tried to smear my name? No, Mama. Silence is what he wants. Calm is what we give. Evelyn reached across the table, squeezing her daughter's hand. Then promise me you'll be careful. Courage and recklessness aren't the same thing. Maya nodded, but in her heart she knew. Danger was circling closer. 2 nights later, Maya spoke at a community center on the city's south side. No cameras, no reporters, just neighbors, parents, veterans, church leaders. We don't answer fear with fear, she told them. We answer with truth, and truth doesn't shout, it stands. The audience murmured agreement, nodding. But near the back, a man in a baseball cap slipped out quietly, phone in hand. Minutes later, Brad Kincaid knew exactly where she was. The ambush came fast. As Maya left the center with Evelyn and Marcus, 2 trucks screeched into the parking lot. Men jumped out, faces covered, voices shouting. "Teach her a lesson," one yelled. Evelyn froze. Marcus stepped in front of Maya, fists clenched. But before anyone could move, veterans from the audience spilled out behind them. Old men with steady eyes, young soldiers home on leave, church deacons gripping flashlights like weapons. "You want her," one veteran growled. "You go through us." The parking lot went silent. Brad hadn't expected resistance. He watched from his truck as his men hesitated, outnumbered, facing veterans who didn't flinch. Then someone shouted, "Police!" Sirens cut through the night. Blue lights flashed across the lot. Brad cursed, slamming his fist against the wheel. "Fall back, now!" The trucks peeled out, tires screaming, leaving the lot scattered with shaken neighbors but no victims. Minutes later, officers swarmed the scene. Maya stood calm, Evelyn clutching her arm, veterans giving statements to police. Reporters arrived late, cameras flashing, but the chaos had already ended. One officer approached Maya. "Ma'am, do you want protection? This was a targeted threat." Maya met his gaze steadily. "I want justice, not protection that comes after the danger." That night, news stations carried the story. Attempted attack on Maya Carter thwarted by local veterans. Commentators debated again. "She's dividing the city," one said. Another countered, "She didn't start this fight, she's standing her ground." And across the nation, people watched a pattern forming. Every attempt to break her only built her stronger. In his motel room, Brad smashed another remote, glass scattering across the floor. "They protect her like she's royalty," he snarled. "Next time, no warnings, no crowd, no escape." But even as he spoke, doubt edged his anger. Each failure made him smaller. Each attempt turned more people against him. And Maya Carter? She stood taller every time. At home, Maya opened her journal again. "Tonight they came for me. Trucks, masks, threats. But neighbors stood. Veterans stood. Truth stood. Fear fell back into the dark where it came from." She paused, pen hovering. "But darkness doesn't quit. It waits. It plans. And I feel it coming again." She closed the journal, looking out at the quiet street beyond her window. Somewhere in that dark, Brad Kincaid was waiting, and the storm hadn't broken yet. Norfolk buzzed with unease in the days following the parking lot ambush. News outlets replayed shaky phone videos of masked men retreating as veterans and parents shielded Maya. Headlines screamed, "Community protects Maya Carter against attack." Editorials called her a symbol of resilience, an anchor against chaos. But for Brad Kincaid, each headline was another nail in his pride. In his motel room, the television blared with Maya's steady voice while he sat in the dark, fists clenched. "They think she's untouchable," he muttered. "They think calm wins." His reflection in the cracked mirror looked hollow now, but his eyes burned with dangerous resolve. His ally in the leather jacket leaned on the doorframe. "You've tried noise, fear, even smoke. None of it cracked her. You want to break her? Then you need spectacle. Something bigger than a rally. Something no calm can survive." Brad's jaw tightened. "Then we give them a spectacle. One they can't spin into heroism." Meanwhile, Maya tried to steady herself in the routine of daily life. She returned to the rec center, reading stories and helping with homework as if nothing had changed. Yet she felt eyes on her everywhere. Neighbors staring too long, cars lingering at corners, reporters waiting outside every door. That evening, Dana met her in Evelyn's kitchen. Papers and case files spread across the table, but Dana's voice was softer than usual. Maya, you need to prepare. Kincaid's suspension is days away from becoming termination. He knows it, and when pride loses its last shield, it becomes desperate. Maya sipped her tea slowly. He already tried smoke, vandalism, even ambush. What's left? Dana's eyes narrowed. Something public, something meant to shatter more than glass. Evelyn set a hand on her daughter's shoulder. Then let him come with all his noise. We'll answer with calm again. Across the city, Marcus caught wind of whispers on the street. He came to Maya's porch that night, his face tense. Word is Kincaid's planning something for the memorial service this weekend, the one for fallen officers and veterans. It's the biggest event the city's seen all year. Flags, cameras, national leaders. He wants to hijack it. Maya stiffened. A memorial? Even pride has limits. Marcus shook his head. Not when pride's all that's left. He wants a stage big enough to bury you under. Maya looked out at the quiet street, the candles still glowing faintly in neighbors' windows. Then I'll be there. If he strikes, I'll face him where everyone can see. Calm isn't silence. It's standing where fear tells you not to. Friday came heavy with heat, the air thick and restless. By noon, the memorial square filled with uniforms, flags, and solemn music. Families of fallen soldiers carried photos, veterans saluted, pastors prayed. The crowd stretched for blocks, cameras from national outlets trained on the stage. Maya sat quietly among the families, Evelyn at her side, Dana and Ariel nearby. She wasn't there to speak, just to stand. But Brad Kincaid was. Dressed once more in his uniform, though stripped of authority, he slipped into the crowd with a group of allies. His eyes scanned the square until they landed on Maya. His chest tightened, pride and rage knotting together. "This is it," he muttered. "We make her crack in front of the whole nation." The ceremony began. The mayor spoke, then a veteran read the names of the fallen. The air grew reverent, heavy with silence. Then, as the last name was read, smoke erupted near the stage. Screams tore through the crowd. Parents clutched children, cameras swung wildly. Kincaid stepped forward, voice booming over a stolen megaphone. "This woman disrespects our badge, our fallen, our city." He pointed at Maya, his face twisted with fury. "She is no hero. She is a liar who spits on every uniform here." Gasps rippled. Cameras zoomed. For a moment, chaos surged. But Maya rose slowly, her movements deliberate, calm radiating even through the smoke. She held no megaphone, yet her voice carried. "I stand here today to honor the fallen," she said. "Not with lies, not with rage, but with truth. Truth is what they fought for. Truth is what we keep alive." Her words struck like a bell, clear and steady. The families of veterans rose with her, lifting photos high. The crowd turned, not on Maya, but on Kincaid. Police surged forward, finally breaking through the smoke. Officers grabbed Kincaid's allies, dragging them down. The megaphone slipped from his hands, his voice drowned by the chants rising now. "Truth matters! Truth matters!" Kincaid stared, breath ragged, pride finally shattering under the weight of his own chaos. For the first time, his uniform looked small on him. Maya stood firm, her candle raised once more. Cameras captured the image. One woman steady against smoke, families behind her, a city watching. That night, Maya wrote in her journal, her hand steady despite exhaustion. Today he came again. Smoke, lies, rage. But truth stood taller. He tried to hijack memory, but memory belongs to the fallen, not to pride. And the city saw it. The world saw it. Calm did not break. Calm endured. She closed the journal, exhaling deeply. Evelyn's voice came soft from the doorway. "You were their calm today, baby." And he was his own storm. Maya nodded, looking out into the night. The storm had struck hard, but it had cracked itself wide open. And now, Norfolk was ready to decide what came after. The morning after the memorial, Norfolk woke to a city split wide open. Newspapers carried the same front-page image. Maya Carter standing calm in smoke, candle lifted high, while Brad Kincaid was dragged away by officers, his megaphone tumbling to the ground. Headlines were merciless. "Disgraced officer disrupts memorial." "Maya Carter stands steady again." National outlets picked it up within hours, turning Norfolk's turmoil into a countrywide conversation. Commentators debated endlessly. "She represents resilience," one anchor said. "Every time she faces chaos, she steadies the city." Another countered, "She's undermining law enforcement's image." Her calm is costing public trust in the badge. But whatever side people chose, one truth was unavoidable. Brad Kincaid had lost control. At the police precinct, internal affairs moved swiftly. Files thick with complaints were dropped onto the chief's desk. Body cam failures, intimidation reports, civilian testimonies, stack after stack of evidence painting the same picture. By noon, the chief made the call. Effective immediately, Officer Brad Kincaid is terminated. Charges pending. The announcement echoed through the station like a final bell. Younger officers whispered relief. Veterans shook their heads. No one defended him anymore. In his motel room, Brad sat in silence, the termination notice clutched in trembling hands. The badge that once felt heavy with authority now lay useless on the nightstand. For the first time, he felt the hollowness of pride stripped of its shield. Meanwhile, Maya couldn't walk a block without being recognized. At the grocery store, strangers hugged her. At church, elders prayed over her. Children drew pictures of her with candles, calling her the calm lady. But recognition carried weight. After a Sunday service, a reporter cornered her outside the church steps. "Ms. Carter, how does it feel to be the face of a national movement?" Maya smiled faintly, but her voice was firm. "I'm not the face of anything. I'm just a woman who stood still when lies tried to break me. The real movement is every person who chooses truth over fear." The clip aired that evening, replayed across the country. Her words were quoted on signs, in editorials, even in sermons. Dana, watching the coverage with Ariel, shook her head. She doesn't realize it yet, but she's bigger than Norfolk now. She's become the standard. Ariel sighed. And that means more responsibility. Symbols don't get to rest. Dana's voice softened. But at least now the storm has cracked. Kincaid can't hide behind the badge anymore. Still, Norfolk wasn't healed overnight. Counter-protests continued, though smaller now. Flyers still accused Maya of dividing the city. Graffiti still stained walls with the words, "Back the Blue." But more often now, candles appeared beside them, flickering symbols of quiet defiance. At the rec center, Naomi ran up to Maya clutching a drawing. It showed Maya holding a candle, surrounded by children. At her feet lay broken smoke bombs, while the sky above was filled with light. "Do you like it?" Naomi asked shyly. Maya knelt, smiling. "I love it, because it shows the truth. Light always outlasts smoke." Across town, Brad spiraled. Without the badge, without allies, he was just a man in a motel room, muttering to himself about conspiracies. He told anyone who'd listen that Maya had destroyed him, that the Whitfields had rigged everything. But fewer and fewer listened. His allies melted away, unwilling to follow a man stripped of authority. One night, staring into the cracked mirror, Brad whispered, "They'll forget her. They always forget." But even he didn't believe it. That evening, Maya opened her journal again. Today, the badge that shielded lies was stripped away. Pride collapsed under its own weight. But the city is still divided, still healing. Calm won the battle, but calm must also build. I never asked to be a symbol. Yet if I must be, then let me be one who shows the storm cannot last forever. She set the pen down, exhaling slowly. Outside, candles still glowed in windows across the block. Some burned bright, others small, but together they lit the night. Evelyn came to the doorway, smiling softly. "Baby, you did it. You held steady until the truth caught up." Maya nodded, her voice quiet but certain. Truth always does. The news of Brad Kincaid's termination swept through Norfolk like a tide. For some, it was vindication, proof that lies couldn't shield themselves behind a badge forever. For others, it was betrayal, another sign that good cops were being sacrificed to appease public anger. But however the city spun it, one fact was unshakable. Brad Kincaid was finished. At the rec center, Maya tried to slip back into normal rhythm. She read books with the children, taped up their drawings on the bulletin board, swept the hall after basketball practice. But normalcy refused to return. Every day, new letters poured in, from strangers across the country. Some sent prayers, others sent threats, but most sent gratitude. One envelope carried only a child's drawing. Maya with a candle, standing before a crowd, a caption scrawled in crayon. "You made me brave." Maya held the drawing for a long time, her chest tight. She hadn't asked to be brave for anyone but herself. But bravery, it seemed, didn't stay private. Meanwhile, Kincaid's spiral deepened. His motel room grew cluttered. Takeout boxes, empty bottles, scattered papers filled with angry scribbles. He sat hunched at the edge of the bed, replaying the same courtroom footage on a loop, muttering, "She ruined me. She made me nothing." His phone buzzed with missed calls, but none were from allies. They had all slipped away, leaving him with nothing but his pride that had shriveled into obsession. One night, staring at the ceiling, he whispered to himself, "If she's the calm, then I'll be the storm, and storms always come back." But the words rang hollow in the empty room. In contrast, Maya's world widened. Dana arrived one afternoon with an invitation in hand. "Maya, you've been asked to speak in Washington, a national summit on justice reform. They want you to share your story." Maya blinked, stunned. "Me? I'm not a politician. I'm not an activist. I'm just me." Dana smiled faintly. "That's exactly why they want you. Because you stood still when lies tried to break you, and people listened." Evelyn placed a gentle hand on her daughter's shoulder. "Baby, sometimes the world needs to hear calm louder than chaos. Maybe it's your turn to carry it farther." Maya exhaled, steadying herself. "Then I'll go. Not for me. For everyone who doesn't have a voice." When the news broke that Maya Carter would speak in Washington, the country reacted instantly. Supporters flooded social media with encouragement. "She's the voice we need." Critics scoffed, "Another media puppet." But in Norfolk, the effect was seismic. Some celebrated her as their own, a hometown symbol who had risen to national attention. Others whispered resentment, claiming she was abandoning the city that made her. And in his motel room, Brad's fury reignited. He hurled a glass against the wall, shards scattering. "She's leaving? Taking her lies to the Capitol? No, she doesn't get to rise while I rot." For the first time, his rage turned outward, not just against Maya, but against the city that had let her rise. The night before her trip, Maya sat on the porch with Marcus. The summer air was heavy, cicadas buzzing in the trees. "You ready?" Marcus asked softly. Maya stared out at the quiet street. "I don't know if anyone's ever ready, but I know why I have to go. Not because I want to, but because calm can't stop here. If it does, everything we've endured will fade like smoke." Marcus nodded. "Then you go, and we'll keep watch here. You're not alone, Maya. Not anymore." She smiled faintly, the weight in her chest easing. "Not anymore." The next morning, she boarded a train bound for Washington. Supporters gathered at the station, waving small candles, chanting softly. Reporters crowded the platform, cameras flashing as Maya waved once before stepping aboard. From the window, she saw Evelyn smiling proudly, Marcus standing steady, Dana and Ariel nodding encouragement. Norfolk blurred into the distance, the city scarred but still standing. Maya whispered to herself, "Calm doesn't belong to me. It belongs to everyone who chooses it." That night, Brad sat alone in the motel, watching the coverage of Maya's departure. The cameras showed her boarding the train, supporters chanting, candles glowing. His reflection in the darkened TV screen stared back, hollow and small. Pride had been his only weapon, and now even pride felt like ash, but obsession clung tight. He whispered to the empty room, "She may leave Norfolk, but storms follow, and I'm not finished yet." In her hotel room in Washington, Maya opened her journal. "Tomorrow, I will speak not just for myself, but for every person who has stood still against lies. I will tell them, calm is not weakness, it is strength. Calm is not silence, it is endurance. And calm is not mine alone, it belongs to all who choose it. The storm may follow, but truth will outlast it. Truth always does." She set the pen down, exhaling deeply. Outside her window, the city lights of Washington stretched like stars. The next stage of her journey was about to begin. Washington buzzed with anticipation. The Justice Reform Summit had already drawn governors, senators, military leaders, and activists from across the nation. But the name on everyone's lips wasn't a politician or a celebrity. It was Maya Carter. The ballroom lights glimmered as people filed in. Cameras clustered near the stage. Reporters whispered into microphones. "The Norfolk woman who stood her ground against a disgraced officer will speak tonight." Many believe her words could ignite a national conversation. Backstage, Maya sat quietly in a folding chair, a small candle flickering on the table beside her. Dana adjusted her notes. Ariel whispered last-minute advice, but Maya's eyes stayed fixed on the candle. "Are you nervous?" Evelyn asked softly. She'd traveled with her daughter, refusing to let her stand alone. Maya smiled faintly. "Nervous means I care. But calm means I won't let nerves speak louder than truth. Dana placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Then speak it steady, that's all you've ever done. When her name was announced, the ballroom erupted in applause. Maya stepped onto the stage slowly, deliberately, each step measured. She wore no robe, no badge, no title, just herself. Yet the air shifted, as if everyone sensed the weight she carried. She approached the podium, glanced once at the sea of faces, then at the cameras beaming her image across the nation. Taking a slow breath, she began. I was never meant to stand here. I'm not a politician. I'm not an activist. I'm just a woman who told the truth when lies tried to silence me. The room hushed, leaning closer. Last month, I was shoved against a car and accused of crimes I did not commit. They said I struck an officer. The videos showed otherwise. But truth didn't shout its way out. It whispered. And whispers only last if someone chooses to stand still long enough for them to be heard. Her voice was calm, steady, but every word cut sharp. She paused, then continued. I've faced vandalism, smoke bombs, threats pinned to my door, and yet every time fear tried to scatter me, I chose calm. Not because I am fearless, but because fear cannot be louder than truth. The audience stirred. Applause rippled, but she raised her hand gently, steadying them. This isn't about me. It's about every person who's ever been told their voice doesn't matter. It's about every badge that's been dishonored by lies. It's about every community forced to choose between chaos and calm. I chose calm, and I ask this nation to do the same. By the time she finished, the ballroom was on its feet. Applause thundered, cameras flashed, chants of her name rising. Some wept openly. Others clapped until their palms stung. Evelyn's eyes glistened with pride. Dana and Ariel exchanged looks of awe. Maya bowed her head slightly, then stepped back. She hadn't come for applause. She had come to plant truth like a seed. News outlets exploded that night. Maya Carter calls for calm in Washington. The Norfolk symbol goes national. Clips of her speech played on every major network, her words quoted in headlines and editorials. One commentator declared, her message is unshakable. Calm isn't weakness, it's strength, and America is listening. But not everyone applauded. Critics fumed that she was politicizing tragedy, that she was turning herself into a martyr. Social media buzzed with division, hashtags warring in real time, and in a dark Norfolk motel, Brad Kincaid watched. The television flickered, replaying her steady voice. Fear cannot be louder than truth. Brad's jaw clenched, nails digging into his palms. She makes me small every time she speaks. He hurled a bottle against the wall, shards scattering. His reflection in the cracked mirror looked broken now, eyes hollow, face gaunt, hair unkempt. But obsession still glowed like a coal inside him. She thinks leaving Norfolk makes her safe, he muttered. But storms don't stay behind. They follow. He scribbled on a notepad, jagged words filling the page. Find her. Silence her. Show them she's not untouchable. His allies were gone, his badge stripped, his pride tattered. But pride stripped bare often becomes the most dangerous. Back in Washington, Maya sat in her hotel room, Evelyn asleep beside her. The city glowed outside, monuments lit like sentinels. She opened her journal, pen steady despite exhaustion. Tonight I spoke for truth, not for applause, not for headlines, but for those who whisper and feel unheard. Calm carried me farther than I ever imagined. But storms don't end in one night. They linger, waiting. I feel it still. He is out there. His pride is not done. But pride cannot outlast truth. It never has. It never will. She closed the journal, blowing out the candle on the desk. Darkness filled the room, but her heart remained steady. The summit was over. But the battle was not. The morning after the summit, Washington still hummed with the echoes of Maya Carter's words. Headlines splashed her face across newspapers nationwide. Calm is stronger than fear. Clips of her speech dominated television, her voice rising above partisan bickering in a way few had managed in years. At breakfast in the hotel, strangers approached her table with handshakes and whispered thanks. A senator leaned down saying, "Your words reminded us what we forgot, that dignity can be louder than rage." A veteran pressed a medal into her palm, muttering, "For standing as steady as any soldier I ever served beside." Evelyn smiled proudly at her daughter, though her eyes betrayed concern. Dana and Ariel exchanged looks. They knew what came next. With national spotlight came national scrutiny, and with scrutiny came danger. Meanwhile, in Norfolk, Brad Kincaid packed what little he had into a duffel bag. His motel room reeked of stale beer and failure, the cracked mirror reflecting a man who had lost everything but anger. On the bed lay a map of Washington, circles scribbled in red around train stations and the Capitol. Brad muttered as he stuffed the map into his bag, "She thinks she's the voice of a nation. But I'll remind them she's just flesh and blood." For weeks he had been slipping further into obsession, but now his pride had chosen a path. He would follow her. Not for Norfolk anymore, but for himself, for the shred of pride that refused to die. Back in Washington, Maya sat in a quiet hotel conference room with Dana and Ariel. Piles of messages covered the table, speaking requests, interviews, even book offers. But Dana kept her tone sharp. Every request that comes in means exposure, and exposure means risk. Kincaid may be disgraced, but men like him don't fade quietly. Ariel nodded. "We've already arranged additional security, but you need to understand, you're not just Maya Carter anymore. You're a symbol. And symbols attract both hope and hate." Maya folded her hands, exhaling slowly. "I never asked to be a symbol. But if being one means showing the truth can stand against lies, then I'll carry it." Fear doesn't get the last word. Evelyn, listening quietly in the corner, whispered, "Just promise me you'll keep yourself safe while you carry it." That evening, Maya was invited to a candlelight vigil on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Hundreds gathered, their flames glowing against the marble. As she stepped forward to speak, the crowd hushed. "I stand here," she began, "not as a politician, not as an activist, but as a reminder. Truth does not need to shout. Truth stands. Even when smoke rises, even when threats fall, truth endures. And tonight, each of you holding a candle proves it." The crowd erupted in chants. "Truth matters! Truth matters!" Reporters broadcast the moment nationwide, calling it a new chapter in the movement. For her supporters, Maya's calm had become a beacon. For her critics, it was infuriating proof that she could not be broken. And somewhere in that crowd, a pair of eyes watched from the shadows. Brad had arrived in Washington. He stood at the edge of the vigil, hood pulled low, hands clenched in his pockets. He saw her standing tall against the marble, candles glowing like stars behind her. The chants pierced him like knives. "They worship her," he muttered, bitterness twisting his voice. "They forgot me. They erased me." He turned away before the police presence grew too thick, slipping back into the city's dark streets. His plan was not yet complete, but the fire of obsession burned hotter. Later that night, Maya returned to her hotel, the vigil's chants still echoing in her ears. She opened her journal, writing under the lamplight. "Tonight I stood before the Lincoln Memorial, and the city lit candles for truth. I saw hope burning in every hand, but I also felt eyes in the dark, watching, waiting. The storm has followed me here. It has not ended. But storms, no matter how fierce, cannot erase the flame of calm. Calm burns longer." She closed the journal, sliding it onto the nightstand. Outside, Washington's skyline glowed, monuments rising like guardians. But beyond the lights, shadows moved. The next morning, Dana's phone buzzed with a warning. "We've had reports," she told Maya over breakfast. "Someone matching Kincaid's description was seen near last night's vigil." Evelyn gasped, but Maya remained steady. "Then it means he's desperate. Desperation is loud, but calm doesn't flinch." Dana leaned closer. "Understand me, Maya. This isn't Norfolk anymore. This is Washington. If he tries something here, the whole nation will watch." Maya's voice was calm, but her eyes were clear. "Then let them watch. Let them see that even here, even now, calm will not bow." Across town, Brad sat in a dingy diner, scribbling on scraps of paper. He drew crude diagrams of streets and crowds, muttering under his breath. The waitress eyed him nervously, but he didn't care. Pride was all he had left, and pride had chosen its final battleground. "She won't walk away from the next one," he whispered. "I'll make sure of it." The storm had followed, and its final strike was coming closer. Washington pulsed with a strange energy in the days after the Lincoln Memorial Vigil. On one hand, Maya Carter's calm had become a national symbol. Editorials praised her as the quiet strength America needs. Churches and schools lit candles in her honor, but beneath the celebration ran an undercurrent of unease. Everyone knew Brad Kincaid wasn't finished. Federal agencies had taken note. A quiet detail of plainclothes officers began shadowing Maya's steps, blending into crowds, scanning for threats. Dana coordinated with them closely, insisting, "We can't underestimate him. Norfolk showed us how far he's willing to go." Ariel added, "And Washington gives him more targets, more cameras, more ways to twist the story if we're not careful." Maya listened in silence, sipping tea at the hotel table. Finally she said, "He thrives on noise. Then let me remain the opposite. I'll stand still until he drowns in it." But across town, Kincaid wasn't drowning. He was planning. His motel room had become a war map. Diagrams of the National Mall, train stations, even Maya's hotel scribbled in red ink. He muttered to himself as he traced lines with shaking fingers. "She walks with guards now. Cameras follow her everywhere. But all it takes is one moment, one gap, one strike." A crumpled newspaper lay on the floor, its headline taunting him. "Maya Carter, calm in chaos." He ground his teeth, whispering, "They'll see calm break. They'll see she's no hero." The tension boiled over during a town hall meeting in Washington's Southeast Ward, where Maya had been invited to speak. Community members packed the gymnasium, candles flickering on the bleachers. She stood before them, voice steady. "Calm isn't silence. It's the strength to face fear without bowing to it. Norfolk taught me that, and it can be true here, too." Applause rippled through the crowd. But at the back, a man shoved forward, shouting, "You're dividing us! You made a good cop lose his career." The room tensed, but Maya didn't flinch. She met the man's anger with even tone. "He lost his career not because of me, but because of his lies. Truth ended it, not me." The man faltered, his voice swallowed by the calm of the crowd. Cameras captured the moment, the clip replayed by morning as proof of her steadiness. But Brad saw it differently. Watching from his motel, he slammed his fist on the table. "Even when others shout, she turns it to her favor. Next time, I won't let her speak." Meanwhile, security intelligence picked up disturbing chatter. Marcus, who had traveled to Washington to help, delivered the warning at Maya's hotel. "They're saying Brad's been spotted near Union Station. He's asking about schedules, watching crowds. If he's planning something, it's close." Dana swore under her breath. "He wants a spectacle. He wants to hit her when the whole country's eyes are watching." Evelyn, her hands trembling, whispered, "Baby, please, let them cancel your appearances. Let them move you somewhere safe." Maya reached across the table, gripping her mother's hand. "If I run now, every whisper that found courage in my calm will go silent again. He wants me gone. I won't give him that." The next day, the schedule loomed. A national memorial service on the National Mall, with thousands expected to attend, including veterans, lawmakers, and families of the fallen. Maya had been asked to stand beside them, not as a speaker, but as a presence, a living reminder of resilience. Security teams doubled their preparations. Barricades rose, cameras multiplied, plainclothes agents blended into the crowd, but still unease lingered. Everyone knew this was the kind of stage Brad craved. That night, Maya opened her journal. "Tomorrow I will stand again, not because I want the stage, but because truth belongs in the open, not hidden in fear. He will come. I feel it, but storms exhaust themselves when calm refuses to bow. If I must face him again, I will not do it with fists or fire. I will do it with stillness, because stillness is stronger than pride." She closed the book, staring out at the glowing monuments of Washington. The city hummed with anticipation, with fear, with hope, and somewhere in that hum, Brad Kincaid prepared his final strike. In his motel room, he loaded his bag. Smoke bombs, a bullhorn, spray-painted signs declaring "Liar Carter." His hands shook, but not from doubt, from rage too heavy to contain. "Tomorrow," he muttered to himself, "tomorrow the cameras won't crown her. Tomorrow they'll see she's nothing." He zipped the bag, eyes hollow in the cracked mirror. The storm was ready. The morning of the memorial dawned clear and sharp. The National Mall stretched wide beneath a bright spring sky, flags rippling in the breeze. Families of fallen soldiers gathered with photos in hand. Veterans lined the steps in uniform, and thousands of citizens filled the lawn. Television crews set up across every angle, their cameras beaming the service across the nation. At the center of it all, Maya stood quietly among the families. She wasn't on the program. She hadn't come to speak. She had come only to stand, as she had always done, calm against the noise. Evelyn stood at her side, her hand warm around her daughter's. Dana and Ariel hovered nearby, eyes scanning the crowd, aware that this was the moment Kincaid had been waiting for. And Kincaid was there. He lingered at the edge of the mall, hood pulled low, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. His eyes locked on Maya, his breath ragged. Around him, people murmured prayers, children waved flags, veterans saluted. None of it touched him. All he saw was her. "They worship her," he hissed under his breath, "but today, I'll break her." He slipped closer through the crowd, each step fueled by obsession. The ceremony began. A choir sang softly. The names of the fallen echoed across the mall, each one followed by a bell's solemn toll. The crowd bowed heads, candles glowing in daylight. Kincaid crouched behind a row of chairs, pulling smoke bombs from his bag. His hands shook as he lit one, tossing it into the open. Thick gray clouds rose, sending shrieks through the crowd. Children coughed, parents grabbed their hands, veterans stumbled as smoke swallowed the air. Panic rippled instantly. Reporters shouted into cameras, "Breaking news! We're seeing chaos erupt on the mall!" Through the haze, Kincaid leapt onto a low platform, bullhorn in hand. His voice blared harsh and jagged. "Look at your so-called hero!" he roared, pointing at Maya. "She divides you! She destroyed me! She'll destroy you too!" The crowd wavered, fear and confusion twisting the moment. Smoke curled higher, drowning the solemnity of the memorial. And then Maya stepped forward. She walked slowly, deliberately, through the smoke until she stood clear on the steps. She held a candle, its small flame flickering but unbroken against the haze. Her voice rang out, not loud, not frantic, but steady. "This memorial is not about me. It is not about lies. It is about truth and those who gave their lives to protect it. No smoke, no noise, no rage will take that from us." The crowd quieted, eyes turning to her. Parents straightened, veterans lifted hands in salute. Candles rose one by one through the haze. Maya lifted her own higher. "Truth does not bow, truth does not break. Hold your candle steady and let the light cut through the smoke." One by one, the crowd obeyed. Flames flickered into the haze until the smoke was pierced by hundreds of points of light. Chants began, soft at first, then stronger. "Truth matters! Truth matters!" Kincaid's face twisted. He shouted into the bullhorn, "Don't listen! She's weak! She's a fraud!" But his voice was drowned by the rising chant. The louder he screamed, the steadier the crowd grew. Police surged forward. Officers wrestled the bullhorn from his hand, pulled the duffel bag away, and dragged him from the platform. Cameras zoomed in as he struggled, shouting curses, his uniform tattered, his pride shattered. And standing above it all, Maya remained calm, her candle steady against the smoke. By the time the smoke cleared, the ceremony resumed. Bells tolled again, flags waved, and families of the fallen wiped tears as the solemnity returned. The chaos had been absorbed, transformed into resolve. Reporters narrated breathlessly. Once again, Maya Carter stood calm in the face of chaos, and once again, truth endured. That evening, Maya sat at her hotel desk, journal open, candle burning beside her. Today he came with smoke, rage, and noise. He tried to hijack memory, to break calm, but calm did not break. The people chose truth and his pride collapsed. He is gone now, stripped of badge, of power, of voice. The storm is over, but calm remains, and calm will last longer than any storm ever could. She closed the journal, exhaling slowly. Evelyn entered quietly, wrapping her arms around her daughter. "You did it, baby," she whispered. Maya shook her head. "We did it. Every candle, every voice, every truth. They all stood with me." She looked out the window where Washington glowed with light. Across the city, across the nation, people held candles high, whispers of truth flickering in defiance of pride. And for the first time, Maya felt it fully. The storm was finished.